Well, the attack is definitely slowing down. We see not a lot of gain up here. Really not a lot of gain anywhere, but some key little locations. So here on the Hofgaup map, we've got a breakthrough over here that was unable to be responded to. Up here, a little bit of ground gained, not much. Here, potentials for breakthroughs on the Fifth Corps map. It's kind of interesting. Both sides are very thin going on this map because I've diverted attack from the Fifth Corps map into the surrounding maps to try to gain advantages. Those maps I'm doing very well on. I'm not doing badly on here. And the thinness of the NATO positioning is allowing for some, for me to have pretty nice numbers actually. So I don't know, comparatively. Here on Béor, this little incursion, it's starting to sort of gel into what it will be. It had been kind of a chaotic mess before. Now it looks like the Soviet line is going to run down here. It's just a matter of cleaning out this crap. A lot of good terrain that NATO's in up here. And then again, avoiding Hanover. Don't want to fight. Don't want to fight in the city. Tried to make some gains through here. There would be a great breakthrough there. Made a couple of different attempts at it. Didn't get it. It's okay. Up here, we've crossed the Aller River and are heading for the Weser. Troops got there just in time to kind of cover the line. We got some Dutch coming in. Similarly, over here, there was a major break out over in this general area where these units all got pocketed, but the French have come down and covered the gap there. Remember that both the French and the Dutch are on a different time scale than they should be, so they should actually be showing up earlier than this, as should the Soviet reinforcements, but it probably means that the attacker has gotten some advantages off of that time scaling. Over here, not a lot changed. We kind of cleared things out and consolidated our position, but this little breakout is getting a little bit better. I mean, it's not really a breakout. It's being covered by these Dutch here. And the city of Hanover, more or less the same. We got Poles beginning to stream in. It's time to do the big flip. That definitely is not happening today. It's the same. I decided to do the story so far anyway, even though I'm tired as hell because I'm loading the video up. All right. For what it's worth, and no, I'm not going to play right now, but I just give you guys these fucking updates for no good reason. I did my shopping. Got less than I wanted, but I'm still worried about my cart, especially since it's my old cart with a pair of older wheels on it. I didn't put the new wheels on, but I did replace a broken wheel on that one with a worn wheel from the other one. And but the cart's a little different, like things fall off of it and stuff. But I used this, so I had to clear the shit out of that in order to haul stuff. One of the biggest bonus moments in my life since my wife died, and I mean this is about as bonus as it gets for me anyway, is I've got just socks on. I used to head up the driveway, which was a pain in the ass. Now I come down from the woods, and it's just, so much shorter. It saves me a block of basically down a pretty steep hill and then up my driveway. And my driveway, I've fallen once trying to carry my cart up it. You can't even see it here. But it's nasty. Of course, now my driveway is getting overgrown. Like, there's no car or anything, but the cart used to eat up some of the moss and stuff. I think used to tear up a little bit. And that's once every 2 weeks, so I can't see it having much effect. But I also used to sweep the driveway, which I think had more of an effect. And I haven't done that in quite a long time. I think I did it during the summer at one point, but I used to do it every couple months or so. It's kind of like shoveling the driveway in the winter. Anyway, like I said, not going to get to playing yet. I'm just realizing this is the start of a video. Yeah, I did the what's happened, but I'm just dripping sweat. There's no way I could play, and it's raid time as well. Just barely. But the impressive thing is, it's not raining. It's going to rain for the rest of the week. I have food. I feel like shit because like my gut is rotting inside. It's the first time it's really felt bad on like when I'm not at home. Sometimes it feels bad on my way to the bar, but then it clears up. But this isn't clearing up. There's something horrible happening in there. But, and no, I haven't gone to a doctor to find out what. But it's also still daylight. The last time I went with the cart, I think, it may have been with the backpack, I came home and it was already getting dark. But it was also like a half hour later. I mean, it's getting dark. But yeah, I managed to make my run a little faster this time. Anyway, that's lots of chat of no use. But honestly, the game is kind of wearing down one way or another. So, you know, mainly because those big advances, I think, are slowing. Although, yeah, the NATO lines aren't really all that solid still. And you can pummel your way through, especially with air support and whatnot. Anyway, I still have the big flip to do. I still have to allocate get all the points allocated. I wasted some, not a lot. I don't really count the EW, so I've got 4 5th Corps EW that I wasted and 7 on the Donau front that I wasted. Donau front, I didn't do many attacks. 5th Corps, it turned out I didn't need them. I'm not sure why. Or no, Hofgap. 5th Corps, yeah. Yeah, I don't know why. Oh wait, no, Hofgap too. Yeah, I just think the Soviets have a lot of points there, and at this point in the game, you're not making that many attacks. I know there was somewhere where I wasn't making all that many. Probably 5th Corps, where I advanced without, I didn't have much contact with the enemy. And then in terms of air points, I did waste, but only 3. And I can't complain too much about that. You know, I reserved like 6 or 7 points for the exploitation type phase, the additional impulses. And, you know, I used half of them. I'm fine with that. What it means, though, is I'm still kind of at that point where, like, in battles early in the game, I was burning through air points, and I was like, oh, shit, I'm running out, and I have a lot of map to do to stall. You know, I'm overusing them. But now I have more artillery on the map. I'm utilizing the artillery when I can. And just, you know, not worrying too much, especially with the lack of attacks. With the lower number of attacks total, I'm using less and less air points. But I had 60 air points. What's going to happen when NATO has air points and I have none? Yeah, that's gonna suck pretty bad. Like I said, the Volhers rules earlier on, like way back early when I was going over stuff, the Volhers suggests a optional rule or a house rule that, you know, you give like 20% of the air points to the person who doesn't have them. That would be horrible for the initial Warsaw Pack Advance, because they don't have much EW, and they would have to EW every single like attack, because there's nothing you can do about air points. Air points are just available to be thrown in anywhere. So I think that would be a horrible, horrible thing to add to the game. It is hard enough to make advances as it is if you're not cheating. Okay, you make advances, but the advances I've got definitely are impacted by the rules that I didn't remember. So here it is, Tuesday, and yesterday was a pretty productive day. Not only did I get shopping done, but I also played another game down the basement during the night, which was, I found very cool to do. I don't have a hell of a lot of short little games that I can do that with, and I just kind of lucked out by pulling one out and then saying, oh, look, you know, but it still took me a couple of days to plan. We got some interesting stuff going on during the big flip. I mean, we got units like this that are obviously out of supply and, you know, just in their weakened state, in their fully weakened state. But I had something that I'm looking for. Okay, I'm up to there, so it's on this map that surprised me. I'm trying to find this unit. This unit is out of supply. And it's like the guy who was up against the swamp. There was, not this guy. Well, yeah, this guy too. Yeah, so like this guy could move to here for 6 movement points. That's the end of his trace supply. He has to have a road. He's got a road, but that road's blocked in both cases. So he's out of supply. But then I was even more shocked by this guy, but his only access is, again, a 5-point hex, and there's no road within one of that'll lead anywhere. So sometimes there's things that look like they're good lines, and because of supply considerations, they end up not being that great a defensive line. I mean, this is essentially as bad as being surrounded in a lot of ways, except that I can retreat when I'm attacked, and I could also attempt a withdrawal or whatever. But you get kind of the idea is that, like, now the attritional fight on that particular hex, you know, is a horrible one. I cannot hold that ground because I just can't get supplies in. I think that's part of why the kind of feel of this is part of why OCS has the close is good enough rule. I just, you know, I'm reading through the rules again, and I've forgotten this one, but when you're tracing supply, if you get within 1 hex of your supply, I think, it doesn't matter, you know, you basically have like a free connection from that. This would be tracing out this way anyway, so it wouldn't help, but for throne supply, I would only have to get it to here, like if I was like trying to supply for a military, for firepower or whatever. So it's actually kind of interesting. It's like, yeah, this would work pretty well. My own Soviet doctrinal disadvantages that are just baked into my brain because I've been playing it long enough where, hey, I don't have to worry about supply and everything. And this guy pushed forward into what looked like a pretty nice position, but you know, a position that locked down this artillery and whatnot. The truth, though, is, while he's out of supply, all of this is out of supply too. So it's not really a terrible place. It's just that he's serving a purpose. It's just this has to be reduced. And I've got some hits against those units now. There comes a point during the big flip when the back starts giving out. Made my way up to here with the Soviets, you know, running all the way through. I've got like 1 map left, and I'm just like, oh, shit. I don't know if I have it in me anymore. I like to do it all at once, and I'm running out of daylight, and it's really something. Although I can get a lot of light on this map, so I can get double spots on it, so, you know. This light is hard to use anywhere other than right on this edge, just because of that plug there. I could bring like an extension cord in or something. And that's why I don't have a third lamp in play, in part. Part of it is I don't want to assemble one, but part of it is I would have to run an extension cord for it to be useful. It would have to be like over here or something. And I kind of got an overhead light back there. But what am I babbling about and why? I don't know. One thing was I wanted to note, this airborne unit back here is going to be in supply, actually, running back to here. So I put a marker on it just to remind me. I noticed it when I was like halfway through the Hoff Gap map. The other thing, having nothing to do with the game at all, like lighting is that big a deal, is with my pipe. I was smoking, and I started getting this real craving for cloves. Now, I've done this before. I put powdered clove in my tobacco, and that tastes just as good as a clove cigarette. No problem there. But I don't have powdered cloves. I have whole cloves, and I've had them for a long time. I don't know. They're probably like over 10 years old. They're certainly over 10 years old. I used them on a ham, and every so often I poke one in a pipe, and it's so dissatisfying compared to the powdered clove. Yeah, you can almost get a hint of it, but you know, I was getting almost that hint of it just as well when I was just craving it and thinking, that would be a nice taste in there. I really ought to buy myself some powdered cloves just for the sake of throwing them in. It's not something I do very often, in part because I know it causes, you know, more coughing problems and whatnot. I've got enough problems. But I do like the taste every now and then. And it's really kind of a shame. I guess I could grate my cloves somehow. I don't know. It seems like way too much work, right? In a lot of ways, like I used to roll clove cigarettes. It was just something we got in a habit with. Well, I got in a habit with my first wife, and you know, just throw some powdered clove in with the tobacco, and put it in, and other spices too, and other weird things. Some of them were kind of loaded for people to have a nasty surprise, but cayenne was not bad. By the way, it was interesting. I thought that would be nastier. I'm trying to think of why I went there. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, rolling your own cigarettes is just so much more of a pain than putting shit in a pipe, you know? Every now and then I'm in the mood for cigarette tobacco. And I actually, like, I have some cigarettes I found on the ground. I have some cigarette tobacco I found on the ground that I put in my pipe and whatnot. But yeah, I'm not all that convinced of the taste of or the value of like a cigarette. Like, it's harder to smoke than a pipe is kind of the issue. Why am I talking about this? Just to give my back a rest, honestly. An interesting and really nasty area. These guys are out of supply. They outran their supply. These guys are out of supply. They kind of went too far from the road that they could operate on. Oh, about this guy. That guy looks like I counted him as out of supply. I think he might be. Oh, wait, there's a road here. I didn't see this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This guy's fine. This guy would be fine too. And I'm trying to think, was he this bad off? I think he was. I think he got hammered marching forward. And I counted him as in supply because he looks like he's very close to the road. But I may have just skipped him and ignored him completely while I was busy with the airport. But this guy is out of supply. But these Germans are out of supply as well, as was this. It's just this, situation that's just so ugly in terms of when you do try to pocket things, you will often end up outrunning your own supply line to do so and put yourself in some risk. And the ugly has happened. The big flip's over, but NATO has air power now. They get 90 points. That might be, I mean, they can just commit that to just about anything, right? There's no limitation on firepower in this game. So if they could do a couple of key attacks maybe to break stuff out and maybe get some advantages out of that. That's going to put a big damper also on any Warsaw Pact operations, obviously. EW-wise, we allocated them, again, 14 on 5th Corps and 13 on Hofgap and Beor for the Soviets, and 12 on Donau Front, 10 on North German Plain, 8 on 5th Corps. And then we look over here, and there's like, for whatever reason, what is this? The Donau Front has 10 EW for NATO. Then we go down to 7 for North German Plain and Beor. It seems so weird to me. Now, I would say, to some extent, EW isn't reliant on this. But to some extent, it's absolutely reliant on air power. At least NATO's is. And so was the Warsaw Pact, if I recall correctly. They had EW planes as well, which would, jam the enemy communications and whatnot. And for NATO, I'm thinking the AWACS primarily, but there were similar configurations that the Soviets had. It feels very, very odd to me, just the whole way EW is handled. I feel like, okay, you want to abstract away the air war, but the EW should be based on the air war still. Like, whoever has air superiority, there are fighters that can get up there and can challenge the AWACS. If you don't have air superiority, I don't think you're able to hold it up there. There are things that can get up there and throw some missiles at it and everything. Scare it out of the way. Certainly there's ground installations as well. However, some of them have to be kind of forward. I know some of them are deployed in Germany because I knew someone who worked on one of them. And I just feel like the EW should not operate quite the way it does. It's just this fixed amount, and it's by turn. And it also seems rather weird, This is right from the beginning of the game, and I don't know what it's based on and what calculations were behind it. But it does feel kind of off to me, and I would be a lot happier to see air superiority being a factor in it, and air superiority is really outside the scope of this game, right? Like, if you don't want to have an OCS style set of air rules, or even better, Rommel in Tunisia has some really serious air rules in it. But if you don't want to put a lot of effort into the air, and OCS is fairly abstract, but still, you're managing it, it's working in with your supply net and everything. And games like the later stuff, like the Strike games from Victory Games and stuff like that, and of course Flashpoint Golan, all handle air in a lot more detail. But it's okay to abstract that away and say that's outside the player's concerns, but it does become this huge random factor that impacts the game, right? Who has air superiority, what it does. That extra turn of air superiority on turn 5 was a big deal. Losing it on turn 6 is going to be a huge deal, but, I only have a 50-50 shot of getting it, right? Yeah. Thought there might be a die roll modifier there. And that, you could conceivably lose it as the Warsaw Pact for the rest of the game. How, you know, a string of like losing 6 50-50 rolls is not that uncommon. It's okay, it's not that rare. It's uncommon. But yeah, so that could completely impact your game. And then it's like, well, you know, okay, sure, there's key battle die rolls and whatnot, but nothing on the same level as the air superiority die roll. And on the other hand, you could win it all throughout, and it could just give you, you know, free reign. Now, to some extent, the Soviets need the rest. You know? I pushed hard last turn because of the fear of losing the airship. But it is kind of a scary thing to face because now I know that I could just, I could just throw a ridiculous amount of firepower into a fight and maybe break something like this out, which would be huge, to be honest. All right, that is it for today because there ain't much light, and I really ought to switch cameras. I ought to use the yellow camera. Except I don't even know if I can like package that up for vid. But what I was thinking was, you know, so that if I want to do something else concurrently, I can be running them on different cameras and, you know, get through a turn of this a week, but also, you know, maybe put out a video on something else during that same week at the same time. I don't know. We'll see. I guess it's Wednesday and another kind of rainy day, so no bad feelings at all about like how my life is. You know, I feel bad on the pretty days. I feel like I should go out. I feel bad on the foggy days because, well, fog. But a day like this, yeah, you know, there's very little I can do. Anyway, gonna try to play some of the Soviet actions. Things are getting really confusing because I'm like splitting time between this and whatever I'm playing downstairs. So far, I did Sector 41, a little space game. That was fine. It was a one-day thing. But now I just loaded the rules for Wild Blue Yonder up. And that I think I'm going to play a fair amount of. It was part of why I picked it was, you know, like an ASL or something, you can play a lot of scenarios. But it also may end up that I'm going through all these rules and it's just really not something I can solo or have fun soloing. You know, sure, I can do a dogfight or two or whatever, but I want to get to the campaign game. Anyway, let's get started on this, but it's weird because I'm doing it all on one camera, so I got to be careful I don't mix up what I put where. And yeah, let's see if we can get anything done in the face of NATO air power. Because if we don't get EW, NATO can dump us to the worst column possible, which to me means, wow, you really don't want to attack, dude. So for the most part, I think the Warsaw Pact is just going to rest this turn. Try to consolidate position and whatnot, obviously. Gains where we can, but I unless there's just an opening, I don't see that. Because there's just no way to guarantee that the enemy can't dump air points wherever the hell they want. Actually, a big part of why NATO couldn't attack during their turns. You know, even just the few air points that I had left at the end of the turn, I think it was like 3, is enough to disrupt almost any attack. You know, I mean, okay, look, sure, a huge multi-hex battle, it might only be an odds shift or 2. But that still might be enough to prevent it from doing serious issues. But, you know, the normal attacks that I see are facing like 2 or 3-point units. Now, that wouldn't be the case against the Soviets, right? Because they got bigger units. But if you're picking on an artillery or something like that, you need a lot of air points to do a big battle and guarantee it. All right. I don't know why I'm still babbling. Let's get a quick example. I'm going to make a check attack on this unit. If I get this breakthrough, it is fantastic. I'm able to combine for 8 and 8 is 16, 25, 29 strength points. I throw some chemicals in. I'm not doing smoke. I'm not going to do mobile combat and get the reduction. So 29 to 3 would be 9 to 1. I can't get it up to the 30 like by any easy means. Yeah, you know, I could throw a helicopter in or something, but they want to rest. What's up with these guys? Just did not notice them. So yeah, so I have a 9 to 1. I threw an EW in. Normally, you would get it up to 30, you just throw an air point in, right? The way I've played the rest of the game. And we roll the EW. We get it. This is huge. Now, I was doing a prepared attack for this. I didn't announce that to you, but I paid the points for it. So we're at 9 to 1, 2 shifts for the chemicals. I think we're still at 2 shifts. 2 shifts for a 2-hex multi-hex attack on the best table here, and we do full damage. So this is pretty damn good. We're doing 5 hits on this thing. This thing has already got a couple of hits on it. It can only take 2 more. And then, you know, since there's no zone of control or anything, I don't particularly want to lose the unit to prevent, you know, to slow down in advance or anything. I'm not doing any damage. So yeah, I'll be taking 2, what did I say, 5 hits? Yeah, I got the big 5. So 2, 3, and then it's got to go here 4, 5, leaving a pathway open. Now that pathway is not very exploitable because I don't have a hell of a lot of units up at the front, but I'll do what I can. Now, I could have pushed further up. First of all, the Germans took an extra hit and did what I counted out. The reason for that is they took their maximum hits to cover this artillery. If I didn't cover that artillery, then this stack could have hit the artillery and gotten further breakthroughs, and I don't want to cope with that. Or at least just pinned it for further attacks. But that doesn't really matter with all the air power out there for NATO. But the yeah, now I'm trying to remember what I got. Oh yeah, not doing the follow-through attack because the odds are going to be much, much lower. They would be 9 and 8 is 17 to 3. That's still pretty decent, right? I could probably 1, 2, 3, 4. Can't quite get that in range. I can't bring anything else up. But the big goal for this, it's not to spread the unit out and push it forward as much as possible. It's to open the door. If I can get anything else in there, that's fine. Especially if I can get stuff behind, you know, these, cut them off, make life more difficult. But it's really, you know, I'm pushing that line back, essentially, by this incursion. And that's okay. You know, this is about the best I can expect to do on this turn. That was a potentially, you know, that was a huge attack. Now, if I had this unit up in the front, or maybe, you know, I don't know, this 48th or something, looks like it's committed. You know, it's tied down already in contact with units. I've got some of it I could shoot through, but do I really want to? Probably not. We'll see where this can get and whether I have anything else loose. But I haven't really been devoting a lot of forces in this direction because why? I don't know. Because I wanted to help the Hof Gap map mainly. And there wasn't much in my way. You know, I was able to make the advances early on. But now that it's late in the game and I have to worry about supply, I do not want, you know, I don't want to open this all up. It's okay if I have a unit out of supply here and there, because it probably means the Germans are going to be out of supply as well if they try to do anything. Yeah, pushing that additional division up didn't get me much. And I still have units of the 4th tank that maybe I can get in there too and wedge them in a little deeper. But I'm trying to keep these guys out of contact with the enemy so that they're mobile. I could push them forward if the Germans don't get this covered on the next impulse. So, you know, if I can gain ground without fighting, without actually fighting, that's fine. And that's where I start thinking about things like, hey, do I want to do interdiction or whatever? When do you do interdiction, says the person who hasn't been thinking about it. You do it immediately after the declaration, after the determination. So it's done outside of normal play. You can't interdict in response to anything. Yeah, good luck on this size map to be able to figure out, you know, something that's really, really uncommon for me to want to do anyway, right? Like, oh, this road is important. And interdiction doesn't do much in this game, if I recall correctly. Like, it doesn't affect supply or anything. It's a number of FPs that you drop on the map. The first unit that enters that map for movement or combat gains those FPs, and that's it. So, you know, you can prevent somebody from attacking you or something maybe, but for the most part, it's not a very powerful interdiction. Yeah, I would have expected, I don't know, a cost in ops points or something, I don't know, but it's just, yeah, it's really, really limited interdiction, and I can't see anyone doing it. This feels chromy in the sense, and crummy, in the sense that, like, it adds, I think, almost nothing to the game. Yet, you've got a fair-sized column of rules on it. You know, it's that air interdiction is an important facet in modern warfare, but I don't think they're handling it well enough to make it a worthwhile goal. You want it to basically prevent all movement through a hex at the least, but also probably to screw up your supply situation as well. So this pincer over here, the attack's in this direction, this big gap. I feel like once I got to here, I'm coming to hard decisions that I want to know more for. I doubt that this is going to last, but I'm going to swing all the way up to the North German plain and start operating from there, because this is getting too complicated right now. I think I'm going to be forced into trying to deal with this, but it's too complicated at this moment. What's wrong with my brain? But I come over, I mean, I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I come over here and I'm like, oh shit, man. Yeah, and this is easy. You know, what am I going to do? I'm not going to do reduction type efforts alone on this side of the map, say on Hamburg or on these pockets or whatnot. So I'm actually probably not going to do a hell of a lot over here. But my first thought when I looked at it is just, this is too complicated too. Everything's too complicated. Let me go play with cards and shoot down planes. But yeah, I think this is going to be easier to get a handle on at first. Now I do have this big gap to resolve, but I actually think this side of the map is easier. I probably am not going to go straight through and get all the way to here and resolve my issues in terms of flow, but I'm getting the feeling that before I do any of this, I want to jump over here. And if that's the case, I think it's a good time for me to start working on this map, because I think I can get to here without any consideration of any other maps. Here I talked about, hey, I don't want to do reduction, but I have some definite problems over here. Now this is just artillery, so I'm not worried about it. I can trace supply out this way, right? Or just, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. And then I get to the road nut. So this guy is safe. But these guys I'm not too thrilled about. And I was considering an attack with these, but then I looked under to see what kind of artillery I have there. And what I have is a non-divisional armored unit. I could just move this up there and obtain a path out for these guys. And that may be better than trying an attack where there's no air support. Because there's nothing really for me to gain here, right? I don't have any great advantage here, and I'm taking a 50-50 chance of things going really south in terms of all kind of capability can be thrown at me. So that might make sense. I think I'll hold off on that decision, see what I'm doing, because if I'm not using any EW anywhere else, that might not be that bad an attack. It all feels so fucking weird. It feels like every decision is like, do I want to risk this on a 50-50 shot that it's just going to go so shitty? That airstrikes are going to come in and they're just going to light up my day. Now, I don't really think that they'll use too much of their air power there if I do it early. But like, I'm looking elsewhere and I'm just like, oh man, I just don't want to. I'm on the offensive still, but it feels like the initiative has just totally changed or something. I don't know. Like, there's very little I can actually do. Yeah. And it doesn't look like I have any units coming in. I may be mistaken about that. I may have forgotten to bring some Dutch in. We'll see. Just babbling about feelings again. At least they're feelings about the game. I'm locked between this. Oh, geez, do I want to take a 50-50 chance of getting attacks off that aren't that good to begin with, right? Remember, this system is really not great for the attacker, but if I want to attrition the enemy forces down to be able to get pushes forward, this is, I have to do it, right? My momentum is going to stop completely if I don't act. And how terrible are they if I fail completely? If I end up down here on this column? They're not that terrible. They're not like the opposite of this. This is not like the Avalon Hill charts. Even if you make a shitty attack, what is this? This is the 1 to 3 column, that you're talking about with shifts against and whatnot. And I'll probably have shifts in my favor, if anything. I still just take a little bit of damage. Of course, I'm also taking a point of damage, a point of friction for just launching the operation. But we're not talking about something I can't recover from. And as opposed to not using units at all, it seems like a good choice. So I'm kind of changing my mind. Up to the EW level, maybe. Like, I don't want to be in a position where I'm just, throwing away troops in order to burn out his air points so that I can start attacking at a worse position than I'll be able to. Maybe next turn. Maybe next turn I get the air support. But yeah, because the idea of losing momentum for the fear of casualty seems really hard. What does that mean? I mean, there's important things like this piece here. I would like to clear him, but this thing's not in perfect supply. I would have to figure out how to neutralize that artillery. And that artillery is not, it's in range of this. Okay. I want to do some things, right? But it's really, really tough. Plus, I can't remember what's up. This artillery is already neutralized by this unit. I could counter battery it and try to reduce it, but there's no point to that. And it doesn't matter. except that I'd like him to have to spend air points if he's going to defend against anything. Or helicopters, I don't care. But he's not going to fucking spend helicopters on anything at the start. Not unless the helicopter is perfectly healthy. This is a recovery turn for NATO's helicopters. After all that angst, a combined attack managed to clear the hex. That's important. I moved to here. That gets me in the supply. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, barely. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I can't go through this hex. That's a zone. Couldn't use this artillery because he's wrong division. I didn't want to pursue this unit, because pursuing it would put me in bad position. Sure, it would tighten the noose, but I can't afford it. I can't afford it. I need this unit to be in supply, which it would be anyway, but I don't want this one out of supply. And, you know, actually, he'd probably be in supply if he followed through. Let's see what would happen. Let's say I followed, because this went 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, I could get to here, and then I've got no supply. But maybe I could break through and get supply somehow. It just doesn't seem worth it. It's too risky. Whatever battles it forces on me might be much worse than the results. All right, so that was a lot of work and a lot of angst, and I moved a piece over here. One, like I did one thing. I feel like I got so much done over on this other map. But I really feel handcuffed by the air power. And, well, you know, that's why the Ukrainian offensive failed, more or less, right? That and dug in positions and all kind of other stuff. But, yeah, I don't really know. I'm such a fucking optimist, and I know this sounds funny to some people, but I actually really am. Just an unrealistic optimist. But I am such an optimist that, you know, I had this picture of, okay, the Soviets aren't going to have to do much. I'll mainly be moving units, recovering and whatnot. But I'm actually spending more and more effort on, you know, the few attacks that I am making than I was during the main offensives that I was doing. You know, the ones where I had all the advantages and everything. It's really, really tough to decide where to commit. You know, in those cases, I could just run down the line and say, that's an attack I want to make, that's an attack I want to make. Here, I have to run down and say, that is the attack I need to make. You know, if I don't make that attack, bad things will happen. Or if I do make that attack, great things could happen. If I can't say something like that, I don't want to make it. But I might want to later. So I'm going through this iterative cycle, looking at the entire map, every piece, trying to make decisions. It's just, you know, I had this thought that like it would be smooth and easy to do this turn because the Soviets aren't going to be able to advance. But no, they're able to make tiny little advances where the EW holds out. And, you know, goddamn, not what I wanted to face. Example, I'm tied up agonizing over this unit of the 1st Guard tank where I want to move him to. Now he only has a couple of choices, right? I've got these units cut off from supply, and this is sort of a part of that. I mean, it is a part of it. It's covering this hex. But the question is, do I want to move to this hex or this hex? I'm not going to do anything with them. It's which one of those two hexes do I want to move to? And I'm just agonizing over it. Because, look, an attack on this would be really useful. Not this turn, next turn or whatever. But this feels more noosey. And I don't know. I mean, I just shouldn't think. I shouldn't think. Screw it, man, right? Kind of winding down on the North German Plain map. I'm not doing much here. There's a lot of resting that needs to be happening at the westernmost area of what's happening. The fighting. Through here, there's just not much I can do. I don't have the excess forces. Coming down here, I set up, you know, attacks in places where I feel like next turn, maybe I'll make an attack if they hold their position. I'm not gonna burn units out on a turn where I don't have air power. That's a step way too far. Like, so a lot of stuff isn't doing shit. I moved these poles up into position here as first guard tank, gave them a little bit of room, shifting over a little bit, putting the squeeze on. Some of it's way down here. 40th guard tank moved in to get a better grip on this shit. And now I'm working here. I did counter battery against this. That was great. Worked fine. I could keep counter battering it, trying to destroy it. That's not a bad option if I've got nothing better to do, but I want to figure out what better I might have to do in this sector before I choose to do that. But then I fired 2 counter battery from each of these at this thing. 4 misses. Only a 1/3 chance of missing on these things. They're 2 to 1. Now, is it a big deal? Not really, because I still need the EW to succeed, but it's like, it would really kind of suck if they could just throw artillery, right? I don't know, somehow that was 90 air points, which is an unimaginably large number for a defender to have. It's just, so overwhelming that I really shouldn't bother. I really shouldn't worry about it. And then, there's the helicopters too, but those are beat up enough. They do not want to get used for anything if they can help it. Air points are use them or lose them, so might as well, It's not, but the artillery isn't going anywhere. But on the other hand, it's got 3 fatigue points on it already. Probably don't want to spend it. Probably better off spending air points and get 2 of those 3 back. To do some of that hamburger humbug reduction. I was hoping to get this guy destroyed at 28 to 3. EW failed though. Goes down to 28 to 6. 3 air points being thrown in. Mobile attack. I think I overdid it. I think he should only be a 2. Forgot the mobile attack thing. It doesn't end up that bad a result. It ends up a 1-1 because of the mobile attack. Plus I spent 1 here, plus I spent resources back here. But he spent 3 air points, so, whatever. But yeah, maybe I fear too much, Just like I feel like I'm stymied because my attacks don't go far enough, right? They don't do enough when I'm hitting, things like 7 to 1. When I'm hitting the lowest odds on the table, there's still, this isn't the lowest odds. This got me somewhere in the middle of the table instead of over on the end of the table, right? When I'm hitting, is that even right? 6 to 1, yeah, that's right. But when I'm hitting not the odds I was aiming for and think that I'm screwed, I'm really not, because again, the combat table is rather smooth. And, the results here aren't that bad for the attacker. Like, they don't do shit to the defender, right? They're useless. But you don't get just devastated by making a bad attack. You only get devastated if you keep making it. It's not good. And now I got to move that unit in that I kind of didn't want to. Wanted to keep it in reserve to do something else with, but whatever. That just calls it a day for this map. I got to take a break. Doing a map is painful for me. But yeah, so now I'm open to move to the Beor map. Because again, I just didn't feel like I wanted to do that map right away. And I feel like I'm opening up with a clean slate. With this big gap here, I'm fine. And start hunting down, hey, is there anything I really need to do? Whether it's reduction of rear area stuff that maybe he's not willing to spend a lot of air points for. I can always come back and look at a map and see if I have some opportunity if like the air points dry up or something. Maybe something happens, but for the most part, I'm okay with, moving my reserves into place and whatever, instead of just saying, just because I don't want to come back and look at the map again. The grind while we have some daylight. Looking through here, all of these forces are too fatigued. I made big pushes with these. They're not going to be able to do much in an absence of air power. So we keep moving. The Bear map kind of looks like it is going to be the poster child for what I expected for this turn, which is, there's just not much I want to do here. Fighting in here, it's barely worth it anyway. We'll see. But because there are openings possible, I set myself up for some smaller multi-hex attacks. But I just don't know. That's some tough shit up there. As a quick example, let's take a look at what this would get. I can get 22, 23, 24 to 3 with a mobile attack in nasty terrain. That gets me to the 8 to 1 table on the nasty terrain. Let's just look at what we'd get if we fight this in general, because I made some of these attacks and realized, hey, there's basically no chance. I'd be releasing chemicals and gas, so that's 1, 2, 3 shifts, and another 2 shifts for the multi-hex. That gets me out here. This is as good as it gets. Now this is pretty good. Trading 1 hit on all my units for, well, 4 or 3 hits, maybe only 2 on this unit would definitely be worth it. So I think I'm going to go for that. But that's the kind of choice that I'm making, is I'm trading my my recovery next turn, which is fine. Nobody's hurt of mine, but he's not hurt either, for the chance to put him more hurt than he can recover from. But I could end up more hurt than I can recover from if the EW fails. In which case, well, this attack fails and I move on, I just have to find one entryway, right? So by weakening the enemy with the attrition, it's probably worth it. Oh, it was kind of the worst result, right? 2 EW failed, 2 air points thrown in. That got me down to this table where I ended up taking 1 hit and doing nothing. And I also expended a fair amount of resources, the EW, but 2, 3, 4 artillery points, one of which was to do some counter battery, and then these 2 units, in addition to getting a hit, were fatigued from being operating. So I'm not going to recover fully next turn. And I didn't get shit, right? And this is kind of but I'm not in bad shape. If next turn I have air superiority, I might still be able to make that attack. The artillery all recovers, and these units, they'll have a hit on them each. That's okay. It's worth pushing a little bit when you have the air superiority. Certainly not going to make a second attack or anything like that, especially since multi-hex attacks only get 1 shot. And after a success with that 1 unit, destroying it, big success, moved here. Now this is kind of out of supply, but it doesn't have to stay out of supply. So I launched an attack. I think it's out of supply. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Oh no, 5 to here. 6, the road gets down to there. This would be 7. Yeah, I'm just a little out of supply. Clearing this unit would be necessary. Clearing this unit would have fixed the issue as well. So I launched an attack here and put this guy here to get the surrounding effect, right? And I ended up not a great attack. 36 to 7 standard attack, throwing gas, and with multi-hex and surrounding, it has all kind of nice options. But I lost the EW war. But because the numbers are so high, air points aren't that valuable. I threw 3 air points in, and instead of 36 to 7, it ended up 36 to 10, which drops from 5 to 1 to 3 to 1. And not getting a lot of bang for my buck out of the air power in that case. But it was enough to cause a 1-1 result. So this thing took a hit, and these guys took their second hit. And you could say, well, that's a bad attritional exchange, especially since, you used up some artillery and everything. But it actually isn't, because these guys can recover. This guy can't. Of course, this guy can't either. But, I'm in a position where I can start reducing the units, but it's very slow, very attritional, and very painful. I feel like I'm putting way too much detail into the video at this point. But I do feel like it's kind of important because we've reached a different stage of the game. The air power changing over to NATO for this turn has totally changed the nature of the offensive, but it's still going on. I thought it wouldn't, and now I look at it and I'm like, the combat table is forgiving enough that it's worth pursuing some attritional attacks, even if you're taking heavier losses, just because you can recover and the enemy can't in this case. Or you can gain a hex here, that might be important. Now to a final piece of analysis on this little piece of terrain. Here, I could get an attack. Again, I've got like 18 to 6. That gets me a 3 to 1 base. Since I'm doing normal combat, I could throw in a fair amount of artillery. I could probably get that up to like, I don't know. If we're looking at this is at least 9 here, right? 18 gets me to 27 to 6. I could probably get it up to 30 without a problem, maybe even higher. So I could get a 5 or 6 to 1 against that, throw some gas in. But I've used a lot of this artillery. So now I won't be recovering it if I use it again. And this just doesn't seem like that important a hex. I've got trace supply, or I've got supply for all of this stuff in here. And in fact, what I think I want to do, no, I thought this was part of the same unit. This is 29th Guard tank hitting here and over here. And this is an 8th Guard tank, which is part of, oh geez, now I've got a 6th Guard tank over here. What the fuck does that belong to? That belongs up here. And my poor eyes are not what they used to be. Although this was always a problem with this game, being able to read all the counters, all the designations. Largely because the size of the game always meant that I was playing it under iffy lighting, to tell you the truth. Right now I'm actually in the best position I've ever been to getting good lighting on it. But my eyes are worse. I should bring my glasses down. That might help. Like, I've got these guys, and they look exactly the same as my other ones, but the old person part of it is a little better on the other one. Plus, these guys are dirty and a mess. Put up in an unfortunate situation I don't like. 47th Guard tank made this attack here, but I diverted another half or a column of it up into here in these spaces to pin this down to get control of this road, etc. I think that's worthwhile, but dividing up a division like that is a bad idea. It really is. But I needed those units. I needed them here. I don't need them there. Otherwise, I'm trying to consolidate divisions where units are falling behind. I got like a 14th Guard back here that's got to go join this shit up here. I gotta get this consolidated. I don't think I'm gonna make more attacks, but I can't be guaranteeing that. I haven't used a lot of my EW. I'm at 10 now. Without the air power, I'm just not making the attacks. It's too risky. I think that's pretty much it for the Bayeux map. I performed some more one more attack in here, cleared out actually a decent sized unit, a 3-5 British, and 9th Division set itself up to clean up this mop-up situation, that gives me, room to push forward. I've got some 6-guard tank to go up against this some more. So, I'm making a big push on my furthest advance on the Bayard map, which is kind of cool. And again, that can open things up where I can get back on the 5th Corps map, assuming, if this withdraws, it withdraws, and I'm back on the 5th Corps map if I want to be, or I can continue rolling the Bayard map. So that's kind of like this bulge here. I guess we kind of have it on all the maps, everywhere where maps are skewed, So here, 5th Corps has allowed me to get this deep into the Hoff Gap map. You can see it drops down. Hoff Gap has allowed me to get kind of this deep onto the Donau Front, although my biggest advance on Donau Front is still something that was just intrinsic to that map. To the shitty terrain, and to the fact that there's a lot more defensive structure in terms of, I threw my troop, because the main threat was coming in that direction, most of the NATO troops went in that direction, and whatever. They were already set up there, for the most part. But yeah, I think we're pretty much done. I have a couple of 27th Guard here. I don't know what that's going to do. That stretches back to here. It needs some recovery, but it's kind of covering this gap. And then we can get to these East Germans and see what they do about, the mop-up situation, which I feel comfortable with. I got unlucky, I think. No, did I? I don't know, I'm on a pretty decent chart. Yeah, I must have gotten lucky with the EW. But what it means is 50% of your attacks are just not going to kind of work. And right now I can only make multi-hex attacks for the most part, so that's that. Glasses are helping a little bit. I have a little bit more vision with them. It's not a big difference. It's not a huge difference. The biggest thing is probably that they're a little cleaner. Although they got some dust on them too, even though they've been in a box forever. I mean, my other pair I wear dancing, and they're scratched up and they have their issues. That's all I have to say. But I want to be able to see pretty well, even when I'm going dancing. When they broke, I was unwilling to wear this pair, and I basically don't wear this pair. It's the same as my socks. I buy new socks. I don't wear them. I wear the old ones that are shredded, simply because I can still get wears out of these. So yeah. It kind of doesn't make sense with the glasses because unlike socks, they become less and less effective as time goes on. But the thing is, there isn't that big a difference. And I'm usually not reading tiny print in dark light, which is, that's what I need it for. Anyway, so I moved a lot of my back end stuff forward. Helicopters, got them up here. Moved some additional artillery. I got these engineers. I may end up moving them because I don't see cities or river line here. But I don't know where I need them. It's kind of the thing. I can shift them wherever the hell I like because they're non-divisional. Here it is, must be Thursday. I mean, everything's wet, and we'll get started on this. I'm hoping to get the maps done today. Oh, we got a friend down there. Yeah, I mean, that's actually the yard that I saw from a different angle, but that on my way, first time to this house, when, I was looking to buy a place, that I saw deer. Like, it was just so magical to be really, you know, not the first time in my life that I saw deer, but the first time I saw deer here. And I'm to be this much in the city, yet, you know, have this kind of wilderness around me in a way. And I mean, it's not really wilderness, it's just a park, but it's a nice big one. And honestly, it wasn't even the first time I saw deer in Eugene. Back where I lived before, there were deer that we saw every now and then, like, well, no, quite often actually. We saw them every now and then on the golf course, but quite often there was a place on the road. And now that's all chopped down and they're building some kind of, one of these big block, like, housing towers. There are a lot of them going up in the town. That I feel like the town's dying in so many ways. Like, you would think all that construction's good, but it's losing character and at the same time, like, completely failing to do anything about the homeless problem. And you would say, well, they're building housing. Yeah, but that's not housing that is going to help the homeless in any particular way. It's not even going to, you know, it's not going to bring the market rates down particularly. It's just, I don't know. Like, not down to the point where someone who is in those straits can afford it. And if anything, it's destroying, not that particular case, but if anything, they're like taking down what is sort of cheap housing and replacing it with kind of mid-level stuff. Anyway, I got to start working on the map. Unfortunate problem. Pipe ash, and that's the problem. A number of my pipes, and maybe if I didn't load them so much, but I lean over, and that's not something I normally do, like, you know, when I'm on the computer or whatever, I can just work with my pipe in my mouth. It's no big deal. When I'm working outside, I can have it in my mouth. Whatever. You can do almost everything with it, but leaning over on a map, and every now and then I burn a hole in a map or something. Hasn't happened on this one yet, but this game's got enough problems, right? But I just, and it depends on the pipe. There's some pipes that are better at it than others. But this one I actually thought was pretty good. I think I just have it too full and too lightly packed. Trying to pay attention to that rule where if you move through something on the road, you have to pay extra movement points. And I was fine. I moved this regiment up through here. I paid a little bit extra to go through here, but then I go through this one, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to move these, right? The only reason I'm not moving, that they haven't moved yet, is I need to see where this is going to go. And in terms of a play, making play easier, this rule is hell. Because, okay, you could say, well, look, you know, just move your unit first, whatever. No, yeah, there it goes again. I have to know precisely where this guy's going to end up before I move this other one. And I've got to know that about a lot of things. Like, I want to move the units from the back up first. Sometimes it's important in terms of timing, but here it's just a matter of knowing where a particular unit is going to make it to without it being an issue. Now, I know these guys are going to be parked here, but I know these guys are moving, so I'm not charging the extra cost for moving through them. It feels wrong, right? Because if I was willing to engage in a lot more expense of planning, and that would honestly involve me putting little beads on the map or something to indicate where everything was going to move to as I pre-plan everything, you know. But as it is, all I need to do is drive this thing up here. It's a bad mechanism. It's a bad mechanism, and it's a bad mechanism because it forces me, like it would force me to do a rethinking, you know, a recounting of everything. Right? It's not, these guys aren't blocking the road, they're in motion, you know? I understand why it was used, etc., but I do not like the rule at all. And I'm only going to apply it when I'm not going to move units as a cheat. To say that's one of the problems with this system. I think there's a cleverness to the system. I think there's things it handles that other more traditional, games don't as well. There are things that it maybe handles worse as well, like not having hard casualties, but I understand the trade-off there. But there are many cases in this game where it puts a lot of burden on the player that feels significantly heavier than more traditional systems do. And we've slithered into place in most of the places here on the 5th Corps map. We got 27th Guard smacking into that, ineffectual. 7th Tank, I think it is. I don't think I actually hit that. I think I just moved into position there. Up here, I think we made attacks up against this, trying to get a big breakthrough up there. Just stretch that line, Honestly, we should be able to slip through the side and outflank, Again, this is the geometry of fixed space maps and whatnot is part of the problem. I'm just not allowed to do that. So what can happen is they can anchor themselves here and anchor themselves up there, and this gap just becomes unimportant. And that feels weird given the amount of at-J we've gotten out of pushing through different maps. 11th Guard up here, we smacked into that. It caused it quite a bit of damage. Not enough to make it run, but that's okay. We're just trying to put pressure. This line is not very strong. Here, we held off because we need to recover, and screw it. I don't know if this has one hit on it. Yeah, so this is going to fully recover at the end of it, but there's just not much I can do about it. There's nothing I can do about it. The 11th East German here is resting, but I moved some artillery up into place. And then basically what I have is this little chunk, which I'm going to do along with the Hofgap map, and then North German Plain, everything until we hit the little bit that we've already done. A little bit of a break. I'm worried I mistimed my garbage. Unfortunately, I don't have, so you can see it down there, and it doesn't look like it's moved. Whenever they use the truck to lift the garbage and dump it in, it always gets put in back at kind of an angle. Usually it's in the street, which, okay, but and that looks like I put it there, and it's screwed up. I have this this calendar thing, but I haven't gotten a new one. And wherever there's a red X is where there's a holiday that they don't pick up on. Well, last year they didn't pick up on January 1st. Okay, that's fair. But that can skew your whole thing. Now, it's a Sunday, so I don't think they do pickups on Sunday. But I'm counting on that X to say that this year it's also a holiday, and that means that they won't be showing up and that they'll be a day late. So I put it out yesterday instead of the day before. But it hasn't gotten picked up yet, and usually when there's an off day or whatever, they kind of hurry, but maybe they're saving and doing mine at the last. It looks like that's the case because I don't know if you can see it. Camera is not quite eye level. It's a little below. There's sort of a blue bin over there, and what I can see clearly, if I'm a little taller, is that it's open, which means probably the recycling trucks come by already. the trash is always the last thing to come. It's kind of a pity because, I mean, they pick up recycling every other week, but even so, you know, there's nothing that's rotting in the recycling, and it's just like such a big bin. I have that huge bin. My garbage thing is actually half the size that it looks because they put a filler in it because I requested a smaller bin. But and they don't have smaller than what I've got. I don't use like I can definitely go like say once a month with the garbage, and that's my tiny little one almost any time. Even when my wife was here and she produced a lot more than I do, it was like, you know, we could skip a week at any point and it would be no big deal. But with the with the big recycling bin, you know, unless I decide to get rid of all my cardboard, like my boxes, it's just, I don't use that much, you know. And it's funny that that house across the street that I was pointing to their bin, there was an old lady who lived there, but she had family who would come and stop over, and I think the family used her garbage because her garbage would be fucking overflowing. And I mean, little old lady, she could use more than I do, but not the amounts that they were having. And, you know, her relatives were these huge, obese people, like, and she was not, who I just assume being bigoted and whatnot. But, you know, they must consume more. But also, I think they just consumed things that were like, had more packaging and whatever. Because her garbage cans would be overflowing every now and then. Like maybe they come and they clean up her stuff because she wasn't really able to do things. So that may have been a part of it. But it felt like every fucking week it was just tons of stuff there. And it would only show up when they showed up. But again, they might be cleaning her house out. But it's like, for me, I just don't produce garbage in that quantity. Oh, why do we talk about these things? I don't know. And Wild Blue Yonder, which I'm going to do at night, I'm not going to do it during the daytime, is it's being kind of a bitch for me. Like, I'll talk about it there, but it feels like there just aren't the right number of cards, and they also didn't do anything like a decent job of sorting them. So, I don't know. Like, they were completely mixed up in the decks, and it's not easy to sort them. All right, let me pause before I just keep babbling on and on, because I like to hear my voice. I like to think that I'm in contact with people and talking. I got a bit of a snarl here. So I've got 79th guard down here, but 7th guard is covering this whole area in this big arc. And that makes 7th guard almost useless. And 79th doesn't really have the force to put it in. They can't go into here kind of because of 7th guard being there. So I've kind of gotten myself into an ugly position. I'll figure out what to do. I see an opportunity here. Not quite. I thought I could maybe get to that artillery piece. But, you know, I'm relying on EW anyway because of those air points. NATO hasn't used that many. I'm afraid of, you know, overusing them. So I'm just trying to improve my odds rather than just blast like 10 of them in one place for the most part. Well, across the board. Like, I think the most I've spent is 4 at once. But I'm down to 72, which is a tremendous amount. You know, unless I'm going to make some kind of attack, and maybe I will. If I've got that many, maybe I will. But, you know, it's going to be like just 1 or 2 attacks. And I'll just throw tons and tons of points in to bust through something. Because in general, I don't feel like I can make attacks. But the fear of, you know, any kind of really big attack by Warsaw Pact is just too frightening to make, you know. Not that there are big attacks, like these big multi-hex attacks. Yeah, you know, you're gonna throw in a ton of points and cause maybe an extra point to my units. That's all you're getting out of it. So as a defensive structure, destroying the other person's odds chart isn't that useful. They just break off the attack, essentially, is I think what happens when they see the amount of firepower they're facing. They just decide, yeah, we're not going to die this way. So there's no attacker eliminated type of result in this game. It just doesn't happen. You have to keep hurting yourself for that to happen for the most part. But yeah, looking over here, this is going to be tricky. And remember, I turned away from this because it was getting too tricky. I wanted to see what happens coming this way before I do that last check division. So I guess I have to go with this mess. I mean, it's not really reliant on anything else. It's just troublesome, and I'm feeling that faint sort of. I'm hungry or whatever, but I eat too fucking much. It's worse. This East German 4th is down here. Feels like that's kind of where their weight is. But yeah, they're spread out all the way up here. I've just got everything kind of intermingled, and like the 17th is stuck in their midst. I'm having a hard time. I really have to get enough of a breakthrough that I can start consolidating these forces, because the reinforcements are coming in positions where they might be able to do something. I decided leave things open here. I pulled a 7th guard over to here, another one into here. This is actually a damaged guy, but I want an attack next turn. Pulled my attack helicopter up. Moved the 17th over into position to attack this. I'm just planning on busting my way through the river line. But can't do it this turn, just setting up for it. There's not much NATO can do about it as far as I'm concerned. I had a division over here that I hadn't brought in, so they're coming in. I feel like that stuff over on the North German plain is too important to not try to bust up. That's going to be my way of getting Hanover out of the equation. Then I'll leave 4th Division spread out all over Hell and Creation. That's fine. I mean, I got one way up here even. What the hell? It's worse than that. Not only is this 4th Guard here, this is 15th Guard spread out across here. So I've got like 2 divisions, neither of which can really operate because they're interspersed between one another. Ouch. What is this? Ooh, that looks tasty. I guess this is how I got this, you know, this advance, was by punching through in a lot of places with a lot of units and getting things intermingled in that way. And now I've got a mess to pay for it. Now, getting the ground was definitely worth it. But what am I going to do about it at this point? I don't know. That tasty didn't go well. I lost EW on it. Helicopter and a couple air points dropped it down to a 1-to-1 attack. That sort of pins these guys down. I still got some capability to push forward up here if I so desire. And I might want to, because there's just like a weak helicopter here. Of course, there's some artillery. I had to nuke this one to get it out. A couple of counter battery fires. I may have to chunk those as well, just to make it so that I could get to that artillery and hit it. I don't know if I want to spread out that far. But I don't know that I don't. Again, my goal is to push as deep as I can, and the cost of like some supply for some checks that otherwise their division, God knows what it's up to. It's 20th division. I got a couple of units here, got some artillery here. Where's the rest of it? I don't know, maybe it died. I don't think so. I didn't lose many regiments. Oh, here it is, under this stupid blue piece. Yeah. That color scheme choice, I really hate it, and I don't know, maybe the new versions of the print and play sheets or the stuff you get from Kerry Anderson. So if you get it all together, it's probably okay, but it's still kind of annoying. It's like that original color scheme was so well thought out. Dunnigan was just, Simonson was just an absolute master of getting things right and just understanding the graphical presentation. Probably because he wasn't like, he would play test these things, right? But also just the color scheme ideas and whatnot. Man, I haven't seen many games that get it right the same way. In fact, I have a lot of trouble. It's like there's these important lessons, right, that you'd think he imparted on the rest of us. Working with less, he managed to get so much out to the players. And nowadays, I don't know, there's just so much color on the counters. And we'll see with the OCS stuff. There's just so much color coding and information being presented on those counters. In a way, that's kind of cool too, but it's distracting. It may be too busy. So, you know, it's baked into the system. Here you don't need that extra information, or that information is contained in the unit type or whatever. Doing it again, pushed the checks against the helicopters, got myself out to here, and now filling in the gap, you know, making sure I have supply by holding this space. Brought units up from the rear that, you know, there I'm paying the extra cost for the roads, because if I'm not certain that I'm moving something, I'll pay the cost. But if I'm certain that I could have, that not only am I moving it, but that I could have calculated it out ahead of time, I don't pay that extra road cost. I just say it's easier to abstract that away. And, you know, it's not something that you could do in an opposed game, though. It's too open to abuse. You would have to. There's no easy way to make rules to make it work, right? The only way to make it work is by just trusting yourself. I must have gotten up kind of early today, maybe 10 o'clock or so. It's like 1 now. I feel like I need a nap. More than that, actually, but I look at the 2nd Division here. I think I screwed up and used some 19th Division artillery in support of it, just because of where it is, and I don't think the 19th did anything. Every now and then we cheat, right? It would have been okay. There's other artillery around that I could have used instead, so it's not that big a deal. But I would love to hit this piece, get into position to supply this unit. But these guys did a big attack last turn, and this isn't the turn to do it. So this poor guy's going to just sit out there for another half day or so before I'm at all ready to deal with him. And so that moves us over to the 19th, which, good God, it's spread out all over stupid places. That's one of those I don't know what to do with, right? And like the units that are interspersed, you know, among other divisions and whatnot, I just don't have like the concentration of force to hit anywhere. but maybe I'll set an attack up. I just don't know where. Like, this is the obvious place, right? But that doesn't get me much. I mean, if it gets me back to this artillery, it'll scare stuff away and help connect this up. But I would kind of like to clear this. That's the first division's problem, though. And they're kind of spread all over the place, too. And then the other option is to head this way and maybe try to hit this or something. This is a unit of the 19th I'm trying to save anyway. Yeah, I guess I had to take that as an indication. Because me leaving gaps for NATO's not going to exploit the gaps. The only thing is, hitting straight on up the middle like this, even though I can't possibly fight this thing, right? I mean, I can, but it's ugly. Hitting straight up the middle to get to that is just so attractive, you know, to get this division back into play. Where is this division? This guy is on his own operating, but I should have like a 17th division somewhere. And I don't know where it is. Like, he got brought in on a different map, and I honestly have no idea where he'd have to head to get into command control. He was important simply for protecting that airhead, so that I could I could keep these guys in supply, and, you know, present not really a threat, but an annoyance factor where they're pinning down helicopters and crap like that. I decided to push the 19th to the northeast to affect this and get me closer to that at least. And the first is trying to take this thing out. Meanwhile, I've got this 18th Guard tank. I think it's 18th. There's like an 18th and 15th Guard tank. They're both in the homemade counters, and it's hard to tell them apart. And they're in the same general area. I still don't know where that 17th Division is. Yeah, find that fucker. I think it's way up here. At least it's on the same map, right? So this thing can move, but not very far and stay in supply. Right now, his supply line is running here. 1, 2, 3, I think. No, make it 3, 4, 5, 6. So I could move 1 hex, and that's it. And only along the highway. I think I'll do that just because it gives me a little bit better structure here, right? Protecting these artillery. They're not all artillery there. There's a real unit here. But I'm trying to, let's see, this guy in supply yet? 1, 2, 3, 4. No. And this guy's out of supply. But again, we've got these guys pocketed out of supply. So it's like, it's this trade-off, and I don't know which way things go. And I really don't know if they're going to come pick up my trash. They've missed on some days. This might be one of them. I wish they'd do the trash, not the fucking recycling. But I think it's different crews. I don't know. Plus, you know, with the recycling and the yard garbage being every other week, they probably have less bins to collect in general. So like, yeah, and people just don't drag it out like I don't. You know, I've got some recycling in my bin, but not enough to have dragged down. Anyway, where do we get here? It's getting really tight in terms of trying to figure out what the hell to do. Now, I've got interesting opportunities, like he's got his artillery exposed. I could go charge down and hit that. The problem is, of course, I don't have anyone in there. But I do have another division coming in, I think, over here on this map. So I could actually move this and throw another unit out of that division, weaken it, send the division up this way so it has a chance of hooking up someday. Although, you know, I probably want to fill this gap or something. Or not, I don't know. And well, I got to be careful with the Germans. There's a big German helicopter that moved off the Fifth Corps map, but definitely has everybody in control. I had it pinned at some point or another. It was over here. But I could, you know, start schwacking some of these if I'm going to bring a reinforcement in there, which would be an interesting option, just so that I have somebody defending it, but still in place. I don't know what to do with that artillery. He's helping defend that piece. Yeah, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore, so I think I'll turn the camera off. And so I did that. I didn't launch an attack on it because I don't particularly want to hit it. I just want to not to be able to fire, which is what I've succeeded in doing right now. Hitting it would be great, but I'm only looking at a 4-to-1. It only has a defense of 2 on its own. 4-to-1 sitting here, or 6-to-1 using mobile. And I'm not really sure I want to expand down if I have to follow it. So pinning it is good enough, in my opinion. I may want to move this artillery into place, though. Get it somewhere where it can defend all these units. It's in range of everybody. That's kind of useful. This is the one that's most likely to get hit, but not much I can do about that. I can try to withdraw it. And that's not what I came to talk about. What I came to talk about was this other 15th or 18th Guard. I think this is, I can't read the difference. I just want to keep them together. That way I can like cheat them. This unit, for the most part, is pretty fatigued and doesn't have a lot of chance to do much. This unit would be able to do something, but I'd have to withdraw to do it. Getting rid of this might be a worthwhile task, but I just don't have the resources right now. Maybe those Czechs will overrun it. Although I think I'll probably send them up this way so that I can send the remainder of the division that I just like airlifted a unit from and send that up this way. This only has 3 movement points though. The silly shit with this different map and different rules, but I'm going to play by it as best as I can. I'm sure that the updated rules set has a, from what I understand, has a consolidated, I've been told, a consolidated reinforcements chart, and maybe even set up. I think all that's been done. Some of the pieces probably have been rectified, some of the issues that I've discovered, etc. Again, I had an early edition of it. I wish I had understood how quickly it was going to get modified. Although, on the other hand, I would have never made it, you know, I probably made these counters about when I stopped working. Like, I was in an office where they had a plotter, which was really useful. And also a, you know, bunch of color copiers and everything that I could get much better printing out of than I can out of my little home thing. Also, didn't cost me anything. Yeah, there were benefits to working in an office, I guess. Not many. You know, I'd rather pay for cartridges. There certainly were benefits to working, but I don't think I'll ever be able to again. I just, like, I stopped even applying or thinking about it at all. Although, there's still a person or two out there who might rise to some position in contact. There's at least one who has, but whatever. Alrighty, but yeah, this is kind of a mess. I think these guys look pretty tired. I don't think they're going to be able to launch another attack, which means these guys are kind of on their own, which probably means they don't have much to do either. Which was the answer to the question, what do I do on this map? But yeah, it doesn't look like much. And after a quick search throughout the board for units that I haven't done anything with that I should have, moved a couple, not much. Anyway, let's trace the line. We got the Hamburg mess over here. Not much has changed, although we filled in the gap here. Well, we filled in our spearhead, I guess. I don't know. Moving up here, kind of cutting over here, up, a little bit of a gap. We got another division moving into place. Not sure where it's going to go. Probably not right into Hanover. Probably up this way, but I sent an engineer that way that didn't have anything better to do. Cutting along the river line here, this big nasty clump. It's gotten too late to withdraw now. Now I got 2 units tied up in it. You know, that was the cost of staying there, I guess. It looked like I could hold it, and no. I could prevent them from getting through in supply, but now I'm stuck there and I will die there. And that's that, and that means I have to think about pulling back anyway. But I couldn't pull out, and that was the problem. And this guy can't pull out anymore either. He's gotten himself trapped, which means I've got too few troops to cover the line. All through this nasty shit, not getting any gain there. Here, we've solidified our position, sent another division into place at least. It looks like one division has moved up to take the line there. Cutting through here. This is behind my lines, essentially. Up to here, nice big gap. NATO can't take advantage of it, and there's very little advantage to me hitting there, because I don't get to get onto the Bear map. So it's nasty terrain that I'm not going to gain much from, and it's relatively well defended compared to areas like here. So then we've got this, 5th Corps map. Soviets beginning to look like they're filling in a little bit more force there. Both sides are still rather sparse because I've redirected stuff off the 5th Corps map. Coming down another big gap. I decided 11th Division will move up and challenge Frankfurt. It's probably actually going to swing this way, which isn't trivial because I could end up losing supply by doing that, but whatever. I'm in supply right now. If I threaten these guys, they'll have to leave. They're not really holding anything important. They're just in good terrain that I don't want to fight again. Tape. I keep reusing the tape. This is tape I used last year in the Leipzig thing, and I think it's on its last legs. Maybe there's a couple of pieces that I can keep. But this re-sticky tape, I don't know. It's not trivial. I mean, I guess I can mail order it. But when I was in Phoenix, I had a place, an office supply shop that I could go to that I knew about and knew where it is. Everything here of that nature is like a 2-hour walk as opposed to an hour walk. I can do an hour and 15 minutes. You get to 2 hours and I'm starting to say, yeah, I don't really want to. Plus, I'm so fucking sedentary now, I don't go anywhere. Anyway, the line coming down here, down along the river, I don't know what the fuck river that is. Its name is obscured. This is the Main. I know the Main's rather large, but so that might be a continuation of the Main coming down here. Yeah, it is. Okay. So Main river line here. I don't know this one. I can find out by looking here. The Regnitz. We've made quite an incursion here. Not everybody's in supply, I'm betting. Probably need this hex. And I don't have a way to get there. Just looking to see, hey, did I miss something obvious? He might be in supply anyway. I'm certainly treating this as if I'm in supply. It's these fuckers who are blocking me. And of course, they're in hell. If I reduce them, I open up my supply line. I've got supplies out to here. So this guy could come 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, they're in supply. Because they cut down this way and they're fine. Okay, so that's a lot healthier than I feared. Coming across here, you can see we shot way out here. Now, I calculated that this was in supply. I don't think it is. No way. I don't know. I've got a lot of territory up here. I might actually be able to supply through the airhead, but I can only supply 2 big units through that. So it's pretty much tied down to what it is at this point. But there's another air base here. If I can clear that helicopter out, I can get some more power up there and just start, shipping more and more troops in that way. I don't have many more. There are not many more divisions. There's a division here. There's a bunch over there. I don't know about sending Poles out here. Well, first of all, Poles can't do it. Only Soviet divisions can detach. They're mechanized. I've got a few over here, though, that are all Soviet, so that might be an answer. Oh, where were we? We were around here, cutting down. Another big gap, but these guys are out of supply and they're not doing shit. We're mutually causing issues. This guy's out of supply still, I believe. Cut down here along the line of the river. This thing is basically dead, and boy, do I have it significantly outnumbered. Another nice big gap, and then the line through here. And then in the back fields, we're starting to actually build up a bit of nastiness in terms of the airlifted stuff. So that's where we're sitting at the end of, I guess this is 6A in my video terminology. I like to do the full Warsaw Pact turn on one video. And then the B part, which is the NATO response and then any other impulses, just always ends up so much smaller because it's just easier. And also, I've been going into a lot of detail on the combat part of it. And because it takes so many, we got our reinforcements coming in, cutting up here. Any other big reinforcing forces on the board? Not really. Yeah. So these are our only current reinforcements. These guys are heading up in that general direction. I feel like I need another division in the north. Couldn't bring them in at the railhead. And there's no, there's this road, but they had already come on the board. And then these guys, I want to concentrate in that direction, I believe, because I've got one up at the air base. I had something I wanted to say, don't remember what it is, so we'll just let it be. Oh yeah, the Deadpool, almost nothing. So few attacks without the air support, and what there were pretty much multi-hex attacks that I did one fight. If I gain ground, that's great. If I don't, that's fine. If I get a good attrition result, I'm happy with that. If I get a lousy one, well, too bad. It's still worth doing, I think, because I want to keep the pressure up. I've got more forces total on the board by far, so I can afford to take units out of the line and let them recuperate. That's something NATO just can't do yet. Can they ever? I don't know. They don't have a lot left, right? Because the paradrop divisions here that took out the 5th Corps and Hofgap maps. So I've got the French coming in. And by the way, I can start bringing airdrops with NATO into play. That might be interesting in terms of trying to fuck with helicopters. Can I afford that though, right? I'm basically sacrificing any unit that I send down there. I don't have I mean, I can create an air supply depot. I can't ship troops back there, and also I'm not going to be able to push back and control things. And the Soviet helicopters are a lot less important than the NATO ones, because Warsaw Pact is on the offensive. In general, they have to commit their helicopters when they want to. And when I'm on the offensive, I've got my air points. You know, whatever little bits I'm on offensive. I'm sitting with 66 air points still after this turn. I could have made many of those attacks really more painful, but not a lot more painful than they were. And that's kind of the payoff. It's like, let's just reserve them, see if I can figure out any attacks. We might actually see NATO make some attacks now that they have air power. And they have tons of EW too. All right, that's it. Up it goes. Chi. Probably won't get anything done before I go dancing tomorrow. I don't know. It seems so silly to start the turn, because Saturday I'm out of commission. I'm just like knocked out. And so it's I don't know. It's a big jump to not be playing, but it also, I don't know, the game keeps pulling me in. It's really funny. I've actually halted reading the OCS rules because I'm reading the campaign rules for Wild Blue Yonder, because I have the feeling that I'm going to play this for a fair amount more time. I am still interested in what's happening here. And, you know, which is more than I expected of this game. I didn't expect to get through more than like 2 to 3 turns without just being so frustrated. But yeah, having it set up this way has really helped. I've never been able to set it up with table setups that I had elsewhere. And it's part of the reason, this particular game is a big part of the reason why I bought the tables that I did. Now, the reason I bought as many as I did, we got 5 here, there's one more, was in conjunction with one other big table, a big dining room table that I use as my desk, really. I was able to do a 9-map thing, and I was able to do that with the Pong table that I have up in the loft as well. So, yeah. All right, ups it goes. Ooh, my garbage truck is coming. I get excited by stupid things, don't I?